Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days. Brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends over at drinkbloodofTyrants.com. DrinkbloodofTyrants.com. If you use the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. You'll get 2 types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. Use it on any of them. Use it on all of them. Use it on just one. It doesn't matter. But if you use the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, you're going to save 10% off your order at the checkout at drinkbloodofTyrants.com. Again, one more time, it's drinkbloodofTyrants.com. With the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. I'm not drinking Blood of Tyrants right now. I'm drinking sparkling water like a snob. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is with us. As always, do you like this kind of water? Or does it...
It's okay. I mean, I would just prefer regular. I don't know. It feels like has a weird taste to it. But a spicy taste.
It's spicy water, but it doesn't have the chemicals that turn the friggin' frogs gay. So that's why I prefer it. It's what keeps my masculine.
This is outrageous criminal activity.
It is what they're doing to our water. So we got a lot to talk about this week. I'm going to offend some of you. That's okay. We do that all the time. We rattle the cage of some of our base of listeners here. We've got, of course, we're going to talk about Iran and Israel and, you know, how deep is the U.S. willing to get into this thing? We're going to talk about what's going on up in Minnesota over the last weekend while I was hanging out at the No Kings protest, getting some footage. You can see that aired on our Monday show in place of unsolicited advice. If you want to go see that, that was a good time. We're going to talk about a singer of a band that when, I don't know, what were we in middle school when they were popular, Mia? They had one song. Do you feel like a man when you push her around?
That was like great.
Was it that long ago?
That long ago.
Oh my goodness. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court siding with sanity. We're going to talk about the DNC's money issues. Ilhan Omar made some comments, and then we got an update on an election that happened 5 years ago, but 4.5 years ago. But I feel like it might be of interest to some of you, just this little update on it. Before we do that, normally this is where we would do the current state of the left, but we gave you guys a pretty healthy dose of the current state of the left on last Saturday's show, and we gave you another one from the No Kings protest. And look, we've got images all over the That's Based with Caleb Salvatore Facebook page for all the whack jobs that we saw there. A couple of them may or may not have been forwarded to the Secret Service. I can't provide a comment on that one. We're going to give you a break. I thought that this time we would respond to a little bit of fan mail. Because, you know, Mia, after all, the show is dedicated to misinformation and petty beefs, in case you forgot. What's your favorite petty beef we've been in? What's your favorite?
I don't know. I don't even know the ones we've had.
Okay, so we've had the OG beef was the Messiah. It was the Messiah.
On the Messiah.
I'd say we won that one. Then after that, we had some comedians back and forth with them, but it really picked up into gear when we started, punching above our weight class. When we started beefs with washed up rock stars, when we started a public feud with the mayor. What's your favorite petty beef we've been involved in? What do you think?
Probably what's his name? The singer.
Oh, Montoya.
Yeah.
The guitarist?
Probably that, because it's just so ridiculous. Why is he so obsessed with you?
That's my favorite one, too.
I just want to know how he found you.
Because the rest of them, you can track them back to how they started, right? That one's the most bizarre. It really is. Maybe we'll do a poll in the That's Based with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group. What's your favorite petty beef we've been involved in? But every now and then we'll respond. Listen, I don't read 99% of comments on YouTube, on the Rumble live chat, none of that. I really don't care to see it. With that said, unless we're live. If I'm doing like a legit live stream, we'll interact with people, and that's a different story. But it's not good for your mental health to read the comments on the shit you post. It's really not. So I don't do it. But every now and then, the best way to get a hold of me is to join the That Space with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group. It's a free group. It's public. I don't respond to everything, but I talk to people in there. We talk like friends. I'm not like I'm some celebrity fucking, which I'm not, but I'll interact with you in that group. That's the one place I'm going to read shit. But we got a comment in there, and I felt like I would address it because we've seen a couple of comments from this individual and some similar remarks from some other folks. I just felt like it was a good time to address this. So here's what it said. This was a discussion for context about whether or not you should be able to run over protesters that block your car on the highway and don't allow you to leave, which, by the way, I think like 90% of the population thinks you should. You don't have a right to impede the movement of anybody else. Your freedom of assembly stops where my freedom of movement begins, just like your freedom of religion stops right when you want to throw a gay guy off a roof. You know, so there has to be some type of boundaries. Otherwise, five guys outside of a bar might decide they want to assemble in front of a woman who's trying to walk to her car and harass her. And according to you guys, if they claim some type of political or religious speech, we can't do anything about it. So you got to be real careful. That's where this started. So eventually, this is what the commenter says. Says, your confidence is being reinforced by what benefits you in your community and financially. I get that. I understand it. But deep down, you know how insanely intellectually dishonest you are. Real peace, real financial responsibility. None of it matters, TKU anymore. That's a typo. It is culture war bullshit, laughing at people, whatever. How dare on a comedy show we laugh at people? Mia, I think we've crossed the line. We're laughing at people on a show that half the point of it is to make fun of the insanity in the world. Oh, my goodness. Then he goes on to say, sell out. Sell out. Oh, I wasn't aware. Could the folks that I sold out to, I think you're sending the checks to the wrong address. I wasn't aware I sold out. Have they been paying you? I haven't gotten anything. You've been cashing the checks?
I've been getting all the checks.
I mean, how many times are we going to be accused of selling out to people? And I'm still sitting here with a mortgage that I have 29 years left to pay on. Where's the money, bitch? Where's it at? Yeah, because my $1.50 commissions on hot salt are really pushing me over the finish line here. You're right. I've sold out. The like 89 cents we get for like 2,000 views on Rumble is just crushing it right now. Okay. I'm sending my kids to private school. We just booked a vacation to Greece with all the money we've made selling out. It says it is what it is, or it is what most do on both sides. 10 years ago, you were one of the most promising young minds in the free market libertarian community. And now you aren't just based. This is my favorite one right here. You are just a basic bitch. You like the wordplay there? You like? Here's my favorite part about this. 10 years ago, you were one of the most promising young minds in the free market libertarian community. So this is someone that goes back a long time following my shit. You know, I had a podcast about 6 years ago called Bread and Circuses. Prior to that, I did correspondent work. I worked for a couple of political foundations, and I found my way here. So I've been doing this a little bit, right? I've never had my own show until now, but I've been doing this for a little bit. 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was 19 years old. How many of you guys still have the same worldview from when you were 19 years old? Your brain isn't even fully developed until you're about 25, give or take. Some of them, as you can see by this comment, develop more than others. 10 years ago, let me tell you where I was 10 years ago when I was one of the most promising young minds in the free market libertarian community. This guy's words, not mine. I admire the compliment. 10 years ago, I was 19. I had more credit card debt than I did money in the bank. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. My two priorities in this order, my top two priorities were playing pickup basketball and partying with my friends. Those were my, which there's nothing wrong with that. Those should be your priorities at 19 years old. I was going to community college. I might have been at UNO at that point. I don't remember. But I was going to community college. I was doing media work on the side. Who knows what I was doing for money at that point in time. But if 10 years ago I was one of the most promising young minds of the libertarian community, I think that says a whole lot more about them than it does me. Let's take inventory of what's happened to me in the last 10 years, just the stuff I'm willing to talk about on air. I've gotten married. That's usually a pretty big life event. That might shake up your worldview a little bit. I own property. I own a business. I stopped smoking weed or using any drugs. A lot of stuff has changed over the last 10 years. It would be absurd to suggest with just the things I'm willing to talk to you guys about on the air that have changed over the last 10 years that your worldview might not slightly alter. That's not selling out. That's not a grift. That's just a, hey, I see the world differently now, because as you age, you realize how much more gray area there is in life. And that's that way for everybody. And in my opinion, what I found is libertarianism is a very black and white way to view the world. Now, I still have libertarian beliefs. I believe in free markets. I believe in non-interventionist foreign policy. I believe in, I think gay people should be able to get married. If you want to smoke weed or whatever, that's fine. The problem is libertarianism only works when you're willing to enforce norms culturally, and way too many libertarians don't. I don't have a problem if two gay guys get married, but since no one wants to police culturally, we've decided that two dudes walking down, or a bunch of dudes at the Pride Parade walking around with their junk out in front of children is now socially acceptable. So when we refuse to police ourselves culturally, in my opinion, that's where the government has to get involved. I don't care if people want to smoke weed in their house, but when you decide to not police drug use culturally, you get open air drug dens in Portland, where you just have homeless people passing out on heroin in the middle of playgrounds. I have a problem with that. If we're not willing to police ourselves socially, as far as how we're going to deal with that, we absolutely have to get the government involved. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works. You realize how much more gray areas. And again, free markets, I'm a big fan of free markets, free trade, whatever you want to call it. However, I have changed my views a little bit since I was that radical 19-year-old libertarian. To get this, Mia, I no longer believe that a building having a fire code is a form of communism. I no longer believe... You know, when the health inspector goes around to look at the restaurants and make sure that, you know, people aren't coming into work sneezing all over your food and they're up to quality, I don't think that is a form of tyranny. That's how I have shifted. I've come a little bit closer to the middle. The problem with libertarianism is the same problem with communism, even though they're both on the opposite side of the spectrum, is neither of them account for human nature. They both look great on paper. Leaving everybody alone sounds great on paper, the same way that the government paying for everything and making sure nobody starves or goes homeless sounds good on paper. The problem is they both ignore the context that is human nature, which muddies them up and makes them completely unrealistic. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. Now, I mean, how far sellout from 19? How far back are we going to take this? I used to listen to emo music a couple years before that. Do you want me to come on the air with my hair slicked over and my nails done? How far are we going to do this? How far are we going to take the sellout accusations back? 28 years ago, you used to shit yourself. Now you don't even wear a diaper. Sellout? How far back is this going to go? That's my only question for you guys. Did you say something? Oh, I thought I heard you say something. Look, okay, so perfect example. I still listen to a lot of the music I did from when I was a teenager. I had a dream last night. We drove out to see Las Vegas. I got no problem with that music. I still have libertarian beliefs. The difference is those things have just become a part of me that I borrow from time to time rather than the whole thing. And that's how growing up is. So I got to ask this commenter who will remain nameless. He actually, no, I'm not going to say we asked him. He asked me if he could come on the show in a private message. I said, absolutely. I'm willing to debate anyone. If any of you have a problem with what I say, you can get at me on the group on Facebook. That's Based with Caleb Salvatore Facebook group. And I'll reply to you. And I'd be more than happy to have you on. He asked me if he could come on and then backed out within a few hours. I have the messages to prove it. So, or it might have been like a few days. Regardless, he backed out of having any type of discussion with me. So, just because someone changed their mind over time, it's not like I did a 180 and I just came out and I was different. If you watch this show and you go back and watch episodes of Bread and Circuses, you can slowly see me starting to come closer to the middle and further to the right. It didn't happen over the night. It's the same way what you saw with Joe Rogan becoming a Christian. It was a slow, gradual change, and that's how you can tell those changes are legitimate. I'm not paying my bills from this. Believe me, we're not. We're not. So I think this guy, I may just be the one catching the brunt of this, but I think his issue isn't with me, quote unquote, selling out. I think his issue is with him coming to terms with the fact that he's in his 30s and still has the worldview of a retarded teenager. I think that might be what this has more to do with than me.
I'm kind of retarded.
I mean, I was 19. Think of the 19-year-olds in your life and then ask yourself, is this someone who I really want to hear what they have to say about how the world should be run? Do we even know? Yes, we don't know any. It would be kind of creepy if we knew 19-year-olds, wouldn't it? I guess we got relatives. Oh, we got one. She's like 20.
She's 20.
She's 20. Great kid. Love her to death. Don't want to ask her opinion on how the world should be run. That's fine. And you know, you're allowed to have those opinions, but it's like I said, man, it's you realize that there's a lot more gray. And when you get married and you start a family and you have stakes, not like steaks that you eat, but you have stake in what's going on in the world. You start to realize that this idea of everyone can just do whatever the hell they want and who cares about societal rot and decay, it doesn't work. Because you realize, oh my God, I've got to look out for more than just me now. And this type of stuff, well, yeah, you know what? You're right. The homeless guy shooting up on heroin at the playground doesn't personally affect me if I'm not there. The mom that thinks her 3-year-old son is a girl and wants to chop his dick off when he turns 8, you're right. That doesn't personally affect me. But those are people that need to be kept in check. That's the difference there. Is there's absolutely a point. I knew I wasn't a libertarian because when we started the show, it was kind of libertarian-esque. And I knew I wasn't a libertarian when I asked somebody a simple question. We were debating the trans kid shit. It was when it was a hot issue. And I asked somebody a hypothetical. I thought this was going to be the easiest layup question ever for these people, right? And this guy wasn't some nobody. He was a guy who was a well-known libertarian activist. He had run for office a couple times. He was a leader politically in that movement. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, so how far are we going to go with this? You know, if parents want to give their 10-year-old black tar heroin, do you think the state should be involved? And he said no. And that was where I went, okay, I don't want anything to do with you people anymore. You're fucking crazy. No.
Is that Toaster guy?
What's that?
Was that Toaster guy?
No, but he's probably about just as crazy as Toaster guy. They'd probably have the same worldview, Toaster guy.
What's next? Requiring a license to make toast in your own damn toaster?
You know, I think some people might need one. I'm not gonna. Anyway. That's been the intro. So it's just really been bothering me that when someone, like I said, normally we don't read the angry comments, but when they attack me personally, that's when it bugs me. That's when it actually, yes, congratulations, you got under my skin. We dedicated 15 minutes to you. Fuck off. That's been our intro segment. We'll be right back talking about Iran. Well, the war drums are pounding over in the Middle East yet again. You know what that means, right, Mia? You know what that means?
No.
More blood for the chosen people, baby. There we go. And higher gas prices. If you haven't filled your tanks up by the time this show's aired, you're a fucking idiot. But I would highly recommend you get out and do it, because we're probably going to see it trickle up to above $3 in the Midwest by the end of the weekend, or even higher, depending on where you are and listening to this. So just keep that in mind.
The cheapest one was almost $4 today.
That's not true. It was $2.99.
No, it was $3.99.
It was not $3.99.
Yeah, it was.
No, it was not.
Hy-Vee, it was $3.99.
If it was maybe diesel, I promise you it was $2.99. You did not put diesel in your car. Maybe you just don't remember. Oh, God. Hey, guys that I sold out to that are sending me the checks. Let's get this going here. When's the last time you drove it?
Home from the gas station.
And it didn't shit out on you? It didn't rattle?
No.
No,
the
then you're
gas
fine.
Station's also like 2 minutes
You
away.
might have just looked at it wrong. You're fine. Oh, boy. This isn't a bit we're doing. I'm terrified right now.
This is what you have to deal with all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the war drums are pounding over in the Middle East. And evidently we have one less car now. But I just want some advance notice if we're going to get nuked. So I want some advance notice because I want to be able to just go max my credit cards out at fancy restaurants. You know what I mean? Like if I found out we were going to get nuked a week from now, oh, we'd be having fucking Flemings for breakfast. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. If there's nothing we could do to stop it, let's do it, you know? So here's what we're going to say. Because every time I do this Israel thing, I catch a little bit of flack from some folks in our audience. Here's what I'll say on this. I tell you guys all the time, this is what we said after the election. When the liberals were screaming and crying about how they couldn't believe their family and friends were a bunch of homophobic Nazis. And I said the problem is you guys are unable to view the world from somebody else's perspective. You can see that they disagree with you, but you, in your mind, Donald Trump is a Nazi, and anyone who voted for him just wanted Hitler. You can't see that the people who voted for Trump didn't see him as Hitler at all, right? So here's what we got to do here. Specifically among conservatives, I've noticed that there is a big rift when it comes to Israel. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that the folks that are 45 and younger are so far at odds with the folks that are 45 and older, or 46 and older. You know, around that, it varies, right? When it comes to Israel and foreign intervention. Here's what you guys got to realize. The older members of my audience that don't have a problem with foreign intervention and don't see why we're all worked up about it. You guys, believe it or not, we're not a bunch of tail between the legs, peace-nicking hippies. It's not what we are. My generation grew up in the Bush and Obama era. We watched our friends, we watched our family members, some of us even watched ourselves get shipped, not me, but people I know get shipped over to fight in these wars. Some of them got killed. Some of them got fucked up really badly, mentally or physically, to the point where they can't lead a normal life. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. We all watched that happen firsthand. We watched it tear families apart. We watched veteran suicide hit all-time highs, not to mention the families that were destroyed by these guys coming back with PTSD that just totally shut down. They got on drugs, alcohol, just blocked their families out. That's a statistic we can't even measure, right? The mental damage that these wars did. And then we found out that all of that happened for a lie. All of that happened over a lie. People got killed, lives got ruined. All of it was for a lie. And we saw it firsthand, over and over again. And lies! The reason for that or excuse me, that's the reason why so many of us are so skeptical of foreign intervention. Think back. I want the older people in my audience to think back. Who was your favorite president when you were coming of age, when you were in your teens and 20s? I guarantee you every one of you is going to say Ronald Reagan. Well, go back and look at history. Ronald Reagan didn't have the foreign interventionist policies that George Bush and Barack Obama did. Ronald Reagan's motto was peace through strength. Bush and Obama's was we're just going to fucking bomb everybody. And we have no problem sending American kids off to die. Now, there were skirmishes under Reagan, you have things like Grenada and whatnot, but nothing to the degree of an Iraq, of an Afghanistan, of a Libya, of a Syria. We watched them lie over and over and over and over again. You guys didn't have to deal with that. So it's natural that you're more trusting of government when it comes to foreign intervention. That's why we see it differently. We're not a bunch of pussies. We're not weak. We're not soft. We're not anti-Semitic. None of that. We don't have a problem with a robust national defense. We do have a problem with nation building because we know it doesn't fucking work. So that's why we see differently. And evidently, what we're starting to find out is no matter who you vote for, whether it's Trump, whether it's Kamala, whether it's an establishment Republican, you get George W. Bush. Because the rot goes a whole lot deeper than just who the president is. It helps to have our guy in there. Don't get me wrong, because I got people, I bet you regret voting for Trump. No. He did something I disagreed with. He's doing something I disagree with. He hasn't even done anything yet as of this recording. I don't regret it. I think it 100% would be worse under Kamala. Under Kamala, we'd probably already have boots on the ground now. I mean, Trump, we have a fighting chance. I'm not thrilled with how he's been on this. But at least there's the possibility that they're going to get us out of some type of violent conflict over there. Kamala, there'd be no chance. That you saw how those people dealt with it under that administration. They just escalated everything. So this is where we are. So we don't know if we're going to war. We know Israel's dropping bombs. We did an emergency broadcast a week ago on it. Israel's dropping bombs on Iran's nuclear sites. We hear all these stories about people who have been killed and yada, 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 yada. And it's really sparked a big cultural debate on the right about how are we going to do this. So what they're saying right now, this is the official line of the Israeli and United States governments, is that a bombing campaign of the nuclear sites is all we need. That doesn't really work. Because if your goal is to ensure that Iran doesn't get a nuke, you can't just keep bombing those sites. Eventually, the bombing has to stop. It's not sustainable to bomb a country for eternity. You have to be able to hold some type of ground. You have to get some type of agreement. I don't think Iran's going to come to the negotiation table. I don't see that happening, especially if they know you're just going to keep bombing nuclear sites. They're like, we'll deal with it. The other problem with constantly bombing them is that right now, the Iranian people hate the Ayatollah. They hate that guy. They hate the whole regime over there. But guess what? Right now, the Ayatollah is he's a radical Muslim, far-right lunatic, right? And it's really easy to hate that guy when you're living under his oppressive government. However, when outsiders strike the city, and maybe there's a little bit of collateral damage there, that might be your wife, it might be your kid, it might be your dad, whatever the case may be, that makes you all of a sudden a little bit more sympathetic to the Ayatollah. Because you're like, hey, this guy was a tyrant. He was a lunatic. He was way too far to the right, way too far deep into his Islamic bullshit. But he never bombed my parents. So they pick the lesser evil. And it's like we've said before when it comes to Europe, when it feels like the wolves are at the door and there's a legitimate threat to your livelihood, all of a sudden the far right becomes more appealing because they're typically the more militaristic. They're the stronger ones. You look to them and go, okay, I might be able to be down with that for a little bit. So what you're doing is you're taking people that are either moderate, and the longer you bomb them, the longer you risk taking people that are either moderate over in Iran or actively against the Ayatollah and his regime, and turning them in to people that are sympathetic to the regime, or at the very least moderate. That's the risk you run when you do this nonstop bombing campaign over in Tehran. And by the way, I'm calling it Iran. I'm not calling it Iran. I've seen these idiots, so you need to call it Iran. No, fuck you. I'll call it what I want to. You know, maybe I would have if you weren't so condescending about how you corrected everybody in your TikTok videos. But now that I know it irritates you, I'm going to treat you like the barista at Starbucks that wants to be called they, them. Thank you very much for the coffee, ma'am. So we have this argument all the time, right? Or at least I do in my head with myself. Let me lay out how I feel about Israel loud and clear for you guys so that we can stop misconstruing my stance on the issue. I do not have a problem with Israel. I don't have a problem with Israel's right to exist. I don't have a problem with Israel's right to defend itself. You know what? I'd even go as far to say I don't have a problem with Israel receiving our money to exist. I won't go as far as Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh said on Tucker Carlson that if a country can't exist without America's money, it doesn't have a right to exist at all. I won't even go that far. I don't have a problem with the theory of Israel receiving money from the federal government. However, where I have a problem is with Israel doing whatever the hell they want with that money. That's my issue here. That's where I become a little bit more skeptical of the Israeli government. And I think everyone should. When Biden told Netanyahu, do not go into Rafah, and he went ahead and did it anyway. I don't care what you think about Biden. I don't care what you think about Netanyahu. That's your money. If you're, what do parents say? If you're living under my house, you're going to live under my rules. I mean, they're the spoiled teenager that's taken the car out to the party after we told them not to. And because there's no consequences for it, nothing's going to happen. They're just going to keep taking the car. Don't take the car out to the party or you're grounded. I'm taking the car. Nothing happens. What do you think's going to happen? That kid's going to keep taking the car. If you're going to get our money, I frankly don't give a rat's ass what you feel is the right thing to do. What the president says, whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump, whether it's whoever, what the president says you do with our money, you do with our money and nothing more. That's it. There have to be strings attached. Right now, you've got a foreign government running rogue with our money. I have an issue with that. Because I have an issue because earlier in the week, the Trump administration came out and said, we didn't have anything to do with this bombing of Iran. And then they were like, oh, wait, we did. Sorry, we did. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because if Trump actually coordinated the bombing campaigns, he wouldn't have been at the G7 summit in Canada. He would have been in the Situation Room. He would have known it was coming. He wouldn't have been at the G7 summit and shuffled to get home. They didn't coordinate this.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah, that's quite the diversion. Yeah. No. They didn't coordinate this. They would have coincidentally had everybody they needed up at the G7 summit. No, they didn't coordinate this. Not at all. Now, maybe this is a negotiation tactic by Trump to just let Israel go nuclear, or not nuclear. God, not nuclear. But to let Israel just blow these guys away until they give in and they come to the table. That's a gamble. That's a gamble. How far are we going to take this? You know, I actually agree with this Donald Trump back in 2011 when Obama was threatening to go to war with Iran. Go ahead, play this video of Trump.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran. Now, I'm more militant and more militaristic than the president. I believe in strength. But to start a war in order to get elected, and I believe that's going to happen, would be an outrage.
I agree with Trump. Trump 2011 on that one. That's who I don't know. That's just how I feel there. Just my 2 cents on that. This has brought out some other folks like Lindsey Graham, who's totally straight in South Carolina. Go ahead, check out what Lindsey Graham had to say.
Can you guarantee that? Can President Trump in any form, can you make the commitment that this would not lead to a longer war?
I can guarantee you that if the Ayatollah gets a nuclear weapon, he will use it. I believe that with all my heart and soul. So the men and women who serve, they're the ones going, not people answering a poll. And if you ask them, would you be willing to risk your life to stop the Ayatollah from having a nuclear weapon? All of them would say yes, because it makes their country, our country, safer. So we live in a world where you've got to confront problems. You want to avoid World War III? Learn the lessons from World War II. People in World War II appeased Hitler to the point that it got so much out of hand, we had a world war and 60 million people got killed. So we live in a world where you pay now or you pay later. Let's stop this threat before he gets a nuclear weapon. Let's end this reign of terror. Let's do it now. It's not going to take 20 months, but I can't guarantee you your freedom and your safety unless we're willing to fight for it. I can guarantee you this. If we don't fight for our freedom, we will lose it.
Yeah, well, Senator...
Our freedom from Iran. Thanks, Lindsey. That's South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who we're huge fans of.
You are gay.
Huge fans. Mind you, that's him shilling to send boots on the ground over in Iran. That's Lindsey. Mind you, Lindsey's never been married, and he has no children. Mia, why do you think Lindsey doesn't have any children?
He's gay.
Yeah, it might be. Well, he says he's straight. He voted against gay marriage. He claims he's straight. But Lindsey is, he's a big fan. That's his whole career has basically been, let's nuke Iran. Let's go to war with Iran. That's like the crown jewel for that guy. I can't even describe how much of a ghoul that makes somebody. That their whole career, their whole life is centered around wanting to start a war that sends American kids, a war he's never going to have to fight in. His kids that don't exist are never going to have to fight in. I'm sorry. I don't think that demented Todd Chrisley should be able to send your kids off to fight in a war. I just sent you something about Lindsey Graham, a news article. You go ahead, send it to your cell phone. I want you to read it on the air to everybody. Lindsey's actually big into insects. He studies them. This is an account from a male prostitute that he was just hanging out with while they were studying insects together. And Mia's gonna read it on the air. What did Lindsey, what's this account say here?
When I came out of the bathroom, he was on the bed naked on all fours. I noted that there were dark marks around his anus. I asked if he had showered. He said yes. I asked if it was okay if I wiped him down. He said sure. I wet a face towel and wiped between his buttocks, but nothing was coming off. Then I realized that his taint wasn't dirty. It was just full of moles. Dark moles in dense clusters up and down the length of his taint. Aw, he said, hope you don't mind. Those just my little ladybugs.
You gotta say it in the voice. That was just my little ladybug.
I ran out of there. Now you know what I see in my mind anytime he comes up in the news. Any escort he's hired should be able to verify this. Thank you for listening.
Now, Lindsey denies that he's gay. We have to say these are just people claiming this. It's all alleged. But let me tell you guys, how many folks out there do you know? I mean, there's a lot more people that they could take down with a rumor like this. I just find it very hard to believe that the DC male escort community decided we're going to take Lindsey Graham down. Do you know they...
With his little ladybugs.
Do you know they have a nickname for him? Lady G. That's what they call him. The gay male prostitutes in DC call him Lady G. I don't know how many straight guys that are totally being conspired against have a nickname Lady G or anything amongst male prostitutes. I don't know any male prostitutes. I don't even know where I would go to get a male prostitute. Why do the gays need prostitutes? Have you ever been to a gay bar? They just fuck each other's brains out for free. Why do they hire prostitutes? It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that ghoul wants to send your kids off to die, Lindsey Graham. In a war he'll never fight it. In fact, we got a whole bunch of ghouls. Just pull up the image here. These are the people that have been shilling for the last week for your kids to get sent off to die. We'll go from top left to bottom. So there's, of course, Don Bacon, who we can't really hold it against Don for how much he's been shilling because he probably doesn't remember most of it. Right below him is Lady G. To the right of Don Bacon is Mark Levin, who he's like, remember Lord of the Rings, the mouth of Sauron? He's the mouth of the ghouls in this country that just want to ship your kids off. That guy's never seen a war he doesn't like. He's all ready to send your kids off. In fact, he said, and I quote, that those who oppose a war in Iran will suffer the consequences later. That sounds like a threat to me, Mark. Below him is Ted Cruz, who likes to parade around as being America first, but the voting record says otherwise in his rhetoric on this issue as well. My favorite is the one on the right there. That's Randy Fine. He's a Republican representative from Florida, newly elected in a special election. Isn't Randy a fine specimen, Mia? Look at that build. I mean,
if I had the opportunity, I'd probably leave you and go for him.
Randy. Yeah. I agree. I mean, look at that. It should be illegal to be that fat. That slob is going to wants to send your shit. He wants to send American teenagers off to fight in a war for two countries that they're none of our concern. When he couldn't even walk up a hill with a slight incline without needing immediate medical attention. This is it. This is the lineup of ghouls that are trying to drive this country into World War III. Right there. The closet homosexual, the drunk, the fake America First conservative, the loudmouth radio talk host, and this fat slob on the far right. Those are the people trying to drive this country off a cliff. I love it. He's yawning. You can take it down. Here's what I'll tell you. Because we're hearing this talking point from the Trump administration, from a lot of these neocons, and they're saying over and over and over again, and I quote, Iran cannot have a nuke. Iran cannot have a nuke. You try to have any type of intellectual discussion with them on the issue, on the nuances of it, they say the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuke. Iran cannot have a nuke. Let me give you guys some advice. And we've covered PSYOPs pretty extensively on this show. When there is a cadence that seems like it's almost been typed out, it's only a couple of words, like one or two sentences at the most, no more than like 8 words, and it feels like it's been pre-typed out so they could just slap it on a car and a bumper sticker, that's a PSYOP. When all the same people repeat, when all the same establishment figures, whether it be in politics and government and media, when they repeat the same exact phrase over and over and over again, they are lying to you. They are trying to manipulate you. Examples of this: Iraq has WMDs. Stay home, save lives. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. January 6th was an insurrection. When they repeat the same talking point in lockstep, they are lying to you. We yelled that from the mountaintop throughout the entire Biden administration. We're going to do it now when Trump's in power. I don't know what's going on with Trump. Maybe they got dirt on him. I don't know. Who knows what's going on? And that's my thing. Is because, like I said, people, I bet you regret your Trump vote now. No, like I voted for him knowing that he was a hawk on Israel. We knew that. I've said from the get-go. That's one of the issues I didn't agree with Donald Trump on, was Israel. And I figured that the other stuff outweighed the negative far more than Kamala's. So I voted for him. There's like 10 people that have ever walked this earth that I would consider myself a supporter of. The rest are just human. I mean, everyone's a human. But the rest I merely view as humans. They do good things, they do bad things. That's it. I'm not going to throw my name behind a man who's, by the way, a very flawed man and have to assume the bullshit for every good and bad thing he does. I don't like that. That's not how I am. Here's a video of Ted Cruz on Tucker Carlson. Go ahead and check this out.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because,
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
what
predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation.
So that interview actually says a lot. When you're done with this show, you should go watch that if you haven't already. I actually think they pulled a bad clip from that because that was the one they teased it with the day before it aired. And that one was kind of a like semantics gotcha. Like, okay, who cares how many people are there? But it does go to show that these people really don't know jack shit about the countries that they want to invade. And I think that is important. I think that's important. Play this video of Vivek from the debate back in 2024.
Foreign policy experience is not the same as foreign policy wisdom. I want everybody at home to note that I was the first person to say we need a reasonable peace deal in Ukraine. Now a lot of the neocons are quietly coming along to that position, with the exceptions of Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who still support this, what I believe is pointless war in Ukraine. And I think those with foreign policy experience, one thing that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley have in common is that neither of them could even state for you 3 provinces in eastern Ukraine that they want to send our troops to actually fight for. Look at that. This is what I want people to understand. These people have, I mean, she has no idea what the hell the names of those provinces are, but she wants to send our sons and daughters and our troops and our military equipment to go fight it. So reject this myth that they've been selling you, that somebody had a cup of coffee stint at the UN and then makes $8 million after.
Yeah, that ended her campaign right there. Because she really didn't know 3 provinces in Ukraine. She couldn't name them. If she could have, she would have said them. And that would have been a gotcha moment, and she would have went viral for making him look like a jackass. But she couldn't do it. It's the same thing here. Do I care if Ted Cruz thinks there's 82 or 92 million? No, I don't. But these people don't know shit about these countries. I would be willing to bet that Ted Cruz couldn't point to Iran on a map. I'd bet. I'm not going to accept the bet now because he'd have time to go look at it after seeing this and come back and be like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Let's throw 10 grand on it. But I would bet prior to this show airing that Ted Cruz couldn't point to Iran on a map. I bet a lot of you can't that want to send people over there to fight. I bet a lot of you that want to go to war with Iran didn't know this. Because we hear about genocide. I'm going to do the same thing to you guys that I said to the Palestinian lunatics that said Israel was committing genocide. Iran is not a genocidal regime. They don't like Israel, and they want to blow Israel off the map, and that's a problem. But that's not a genocide. If we're going to argue semantics against the Palestine people, I'm going to argue semantics against the Israelis. There's over 10,000 Jews living in Iran right now. Don't you think if they wanted to genocide Jews, they'd start with them? Not only are there 10,000, and I'm not saying they're treated well. I'm not saying that they're not treated like a black person in the 60s or maybe a little bit better. But Iran, whether you want to believe it or not, you can look this up, has constitutionally protected their right to practice their religion in the country. It's not a genocidal regime. Stop using the word genocide. The word genocide is emotionally loaded, and you do that to get people on board with another forever war. I'm not defending the Ayatollah. I'm not saying Jews are treated well in Iran, but you need to stop lying to people and using these bullshit words. And you need to stop wanting to declare war on countries that you don't know shit about. I don't know why that's such a controversial take. Now, if you listen to that Ted Cruz interview, he says a lot of things that are really, really flawed. One of the things that he says there is that Iran's our number one threat. Iran's the biggest threat to America. Okay, let's think about this. If they're our biggest threat, they couldn't even launch a formidable attack on a country right next door to them. 30-plus missiles they shot, all of them got intercepted by the Iron Dome. They couldn't launch a respectable attack on the country next door to them. Why on earth should we be afraid of them? Why are they a threat to us? Oceans away. Can anyone answer that question for me? Another thing Ted Cruz says is that Iran is trying to assassinate President Trump, which is bullshit. That is a fucking lie. There were threats made after he killed one of their generals, but that's a lie. Do you want to know how I know that's a lie? Because if it were the truth, that would have been what they led with. Like I said, there are ghouls in Congress that have been in office for longer than some of you have been alive who want nothing more than to go to war with Iran. If they had even a shred of evidence that that country was trying to assassinate the president of the United States, they would have led with that. They would have come out with that first, and they would have gotten 70 to 80% of the population on board overnight with going to war with Iran, yet they haven't done it because there is no proof. If Iran actually was trying to assassinate the president, they would have been turned into glass the moment we got proof of it. That's a fact. Also, let's consider who the president is. Don't you think if there was a legitimate attempt to kill him, he would be all over social media with it? So, don't you think Trump would be all over social media with proof that they were trying to kill him? Yet all we hear is rumbling. That's it. All we hear are rumblings. Oh, Iran wants to kill. They want to kill Trump. They want to kill Trump. The other thing Ted Cruz does is invokes the Bible. They ask where because Tucker asks him, why do you support Israel so much? And he brings up the Bible. And he brings up a quote from the Bible where he said, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel, or those who turn their backs on Israel will be cursed, right? That's what he says. The problem with that, and I will tell you guys on the right the same thing I did to criticize the retards on the left who were using the Bible to defend illegal immigration a week ago, is the verse Ted Cruz is referencing comes from Genesis, which is in the Old Testament, which means that last week we had idiots on the left trying to use the Old Testament, pick and choose little parts of the Old Testament to justify a full-scale invasion at the southern border. And this week we have idiots on the right picking and choosing Old Testament verses of the Bible to try to start World War III. This guy, the reason he feels so strongly about sending your kids to war, about engaging in another endless foreign excursion, is not from personal experience, not from any data that he's been shown. It's based on a second-grade understanding of the Bible. These are the idiots that are, and he's a fucking lawyer. These are the idiots that we've put in charge of whether or not your kids get sent to war. Is a guy who doesn't understand the difference between the Old and New Testaments. I'll spell it out for you guys. They're throwing your phones across the room mad at me because I'm the first person on your side that's actually spelled this issue out to you correctly. The Old Covenant, when they speak of Israel in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that is not Israel today. The Old Testament does not apply to us. We are living in the New Testament. When Jesus came back from the dead, he fulfilled the old covenant and established a new one. The new covenant is the body of Christ. It's the church. It's not a foreign country. Nowhere. You can go through the Bible. Send ChatGPT to do it for you. Put the whole Bible into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, where in the Bible does it say we have to keep sending missiles to Israel so they can blow kids up? It'll look all day and it won't find it. So stop using Christianity, because that's what they say, is that if you turn your back on Israel, you're turning your back on God. Stop using Christianity that you clearly don't understand to shill for a foreign war. If you want to talk foreign policy and we want to have disagreements about regional conflicts, that's fine. Don't bastardize my religion that you don't know shit about and you only bring up when it's politically convenient to you. Christians are defined, modern Christians in the new covenant are defined by our belief in Christ, our faith that he came back from the dead and is going to redeem us for our sins. We are not defined by our unwavering support for a Middle Eastern nation state that wouldn't piss on us if we were on fire. That's it. That's it. If you're a Christian, a modern day Christian, all you got to do is believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah and he's going to forgive you for your sins. Not Xavier. That's all you got to do. There's no asterisk at the end where Jesus is like, oh, by the way, you have to let Israel nuke the world and blackmail American politicians. Otherwise, you're going to hell. I'll go back and reread it. I think I might have missed that part, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that. And that's the problem, is you see this form, and it's really common among evangelicals and Protestants. It's called Christian Zionism, and they just can't understand that Jesus redefined the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is not a physical nation surrounded by borders anymore. Once upon a time it was. If we were living in the BC era, you guys would have a great point. But that's not the case. And it really is. These Christian Zionists that use it to, and when I say I don't have a problem with Israel existing, Christian Zionism is a very specific belief of Christianity. The Christian Zionists that want to talk about, they'll sit there and call me an anti-Semite because I say, hey, maybe it's not such a good idea that we just let Israel have free reign over our money. They don't realize how anti-Semitic their views are. Because if you ask these people, they still believe that the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ. You have to accept Jesus as the Savior. So you go, okay, these Jews in Israel that you think we have to defend and you're just waiting for them to rebuild the temple, are they going to heaven? They don't see Jesus as the Messiah, and they'll tell you no. So in other words, they view Jews as pawns in a game to fulfill a prophecy, as a means to an end. Far more anti-Semitic than anything I've said on this show. Not even close. Jesus called on his followers to preach the gospel, care for the poor and oppressed, and be peacemakers. Christian support, if Christian support for Israel includes ignoring human rights abuses, cheering on war, or viewing attempts to broker peace as some type of prophetic roadblock, then it is in direct conflict with Christ's teachings. I'm treating you guys the same way I did the illegal immigration idiots. Stop bastardizing the Bible for your own political gain. How often do I invoke the Bible when we're talking about politics on here to defend my own points? Have I ever done that?
I don't think so.
I've never once done it.
I mean, not that I've noticed.
I've never once done it. I'll sit here and I'll criticize the trans idiots and all that stuff. I will never bring the Bible up because I don't think I need to use religion as some type of shield or sword to prove why I'm right. I think what you're doing is evil, but I'm not going to involve the Bible in it.
It's pure evil!
But I'm more than happy to pull it out because this is the great thing. I'm not a biblical scholar. I'm far from it. But I know damn well when you guys are taking shit out of context, when you're being intentionally disingenuous to push an ideology. And you know what? If that ideology were like low taxes or guns or something like that, that would be one thing. But it's war. And that's disgusting. We all have to answer for what we did at the end of the day when this life is over. And I would ask myself when it's judgment day, do I want to be there explaining to God why I intentionally or maybe unintentionally bastardized his own words to justify sending 18-year-old kids off to die in the desert? I'd ask myself that. I'm sick of it. That irritates me more than anything. Well, all we hear about is how close Iran is to a bomb. Check out this video of Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's little timestamps of when he's saying this about Iran being super close to having a nuke. Go ahead.
If not stopped,
there's 25.
Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have
2018.
the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the
2015
fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
Weeks.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up
to
produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is
96.
running out.
Iran will be capable
95.
of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Here's my advice. Don't go to the casino with that guy. Look at this. Here's a New York Times headline. Pull this one up. Iran may be able to build an atomic bomb in 5 years. U.S. and Israeli officials fear. January 5th, 1995. Older than me. Pull up the Tampa Tribune. Report. Iran will have a bomb in 2 years. Mia, what year is that one?
1984.
1984.
This is before Taylor Swift was born.
I know. But this is it. This is really the time. It's really going to happen. It's Boy Who Cried Nuke. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I think, excuse me. Guys, these are the same people that told us that the North Vietnamese forces attacked our ship in the Gulf of Tonkin. These are the same people that told us Iraq had WMDs. These are the same people that told us the vaccine was safe and effective. They told us Assad used chemical weapons on his people. We can go over and over. I can sit here all day and talk about the things that these same people that are telling you Iraq or Iran is only a couple weeks away from having a nuke have lied to you about. But this is the time. They're actually telling the truth this time. Ask yourself, have they earned your trust? I think trust is earned. I don't think that warmongering Todd Chrisley has earned any of our trust. I don't. I mean, I've made this comparison before. It is a toxic relationship that we have with Israel. Like if you've got a friend that you go out every other Friday night with, and every time you guys go out, you get into a bar fight, you get into some kind of trouble. Yeah, you don't hate him. You don't wish ill on him, but eventually you get old enough to where you've got responsibilities and you got to cut him off for your own sake. Hey man, I wish the best for you, but I got a mortgage and a wife and kids now. I can't go to jail tonight. We got to stop hanging out. Or if we do, there got to be some serious come to Jesus moments here where we have conversations about what we're going to do when we go out and your behavior, your conduct. You know, otherwise, like, it's not good for me. It's not a good place for me to be hanging out with you every Friday night when you get me in fights and you get me sent to county jail for the night. I got to cut you off. Doesn't mean you hate your friend. Doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic or whatever your friend is. It just means that for the first time, you're looking out for yourself. Can somebody give me one example of how Israel helps us? How is it not a one-way parasitic relationship? One example of how the pros of being so-called allies with Israel outweigh the cons of half the world hating us. Can someone give me one example? Because you always hear, oh, they share intelligence with us. Their presence, it gives us a foothold in the Middle East. Oh, that makes it all worth it. That makes the constant threat of World War III worth it. Hey, honey, it's okay that Mitch gets us in fights every Friday night because sometimes he covers my tab. He let me crash on his couch last Friday. Okay, he's giving his presence gives me a foothold at his halfway house in his living room. I don't get that foothold in the neighborhood if I'm not going out getting into fights with Mitch every Friday night. Oh, the gas prices will go up. The gas prices, oh, gee, man, I wonder. It's almost like we have domestic oil here that we could drill. There's like some weird hippie neocon agreement where we never actually, the conservatives could steamroll the hippies that try to prevent offshore drilling here or domestic oil production. They don't do it because it gives them an excuse. There's like some handshake agreement between the neocons and the environmentalists that we're not going to drill here because it gives us an excuse to blow shit up over there. So, Tulsi Gabbard, who is the director of national intelligence, testified back in March before Congress. And she said that not only did Iran not have a nuke, they were not on track to develop one. We had no reason to believe that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon. Tulsi Gabbard, the director, not Alex Jones, not a blowhard on the radio, the director of national intelligence testified before Congress 3 months ago and said that. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about her the other day. It's Tulsi Gabbard. To the bottom.
Mr. President, you've always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon. But how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
I don't care what my director of national intelligence said. Then why do you have her? I don't care what she said. Then why do you have her? Hey, you're 450 pounds. Your doctor says you should really stop eating McDonald's every day. I don't care what my doctor says. I like Big Macs. Why'd you go to the doctor then? What's the point? So if we're going to believe Trump on this, that they're very close to having one, if we're going to believe the establishment on this, that means one of two things about Tulsi Gabbard. That either A, she went before Congress and lied about Iran having a nuke. That's the first possibility. Because there's only two possibilities here. She either lied to Congress, or B, she was dead wrong, full-blown swing and a miss on the single most important issue facing her job. So if that's the case, how has she not been fired? That's it. She either lied to Congress.
Get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Out. He's fired. He's fired.
She either lied to Congress or she royally fucked up in a massive way. And we know Donald Trump has fired people for far less than that. I don't think it's either. I think she was telling the truth. I think we have no reason to believe that Iran is developing a nuclear weapon. Doesn't mean they aren't, but I don't think we have any reason to believe that they were developing one because they didn't just all of a sudden get one. They didn't just all of a sudden go from not having one to getting one in 3 months. They couldn't start the program that quickly with their because as we know, they've been going at it for 40 years now. So I don't believe she lied, and I don't believe that she fucked up. I believe she was right. And I believe they haven't fired her because the second they do, she's going to come forward with proof that she was right. And it's going to be egg on all of their faces. That's what I think. I could be wrong. We'll leave you with this. We'll leave you with this one here. Excuse me. Can't get over this cold. Israel has something that they developed back during the 6-Day War. It's called the Samson option. The Samson option is where if the country is about to fall and all hope is lost, they press a button and they launch their entire nuclear arsenal at everybody. Now, that mostly contains their enemies, Russia, China, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, countries like that, right? Iran. Well, the problem is, multiple times there have been U.S. officials have asked, hey, is one of those nukes by chance pointed at us? And they haven't answered. It's a little odd. Don't you think? I mean, if you buy your son a shotgun for Christmas, his first gun, he's 10 years old, and he's really excited about it, and you go, hey, son, question, you're not going to kill your mother and I in our sleep with that, are you? And he just goes, I don't know.
And I have a shotgun. Let me prove it.
You're probably going to take that gun from him, right? Or you're at least going to say, you know what? I'm going to lock this gun up in the safe, and you're not going to be able to see it till you get a psych eval. And even after that, it's only coming out when we're going hunting. But evidently, if you're the U.S. government, you're like, all right, good enough for me. Let's go get you an AR-15. Think about that. You pay for nuclear weapons with your tax dollars that are, in all likelihood, pointed at you. That is insanity. And I hate to break it to some of you that are listening to this show in rural areas that think you won't be affected by nuclear war and you're safe. Why don't you do yourself a favor and Google the nuclear sponge theory? Because there's 7 states that have been deemed the nuclear sponges. Yeah, what's a sponge do with water?
Absorbs it.
Right. So during the Cold War, they decided they were going to harbor most of the country's nuclear arsenal in 7 states, which became the nuclear sponge states. The reason they did this, and the reason you don't see nuclear weapons outside of New York or D.C. or Los Angeles, the reason why they're in Nebraska and Montana and Wyoming and Colorado and North Dakota, South Dakota, and Missouri, the 7 nuclear sponge states, are because they decided that we get the joy of being human shields in a nuclear attack. Because during a nuclear war, unless you're like a terrorist that got a hold of a rogue bomb, you don't actually target big cities first. You target the other side's nuclear arsenal so they can't launch them at you. So we become the sponge. Those of us in Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, and Missouri have been deemed the sponges. We're lower population areas. They'll shoot them way above Chicago, above LA, New York, DC, Miami, and they'll hit them right at us. We absorb the nukes like a sponge. And by the way, our greatest ally might have a couple of those pointed at us. Insanity. What we put up with just to have a foothold in the Middle East. Fuck you. Fuck you. Here's what I'll say. You're going to see a lot of bullshit over the next couple of weeks. A lot of propaganda. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And always remember that the first casualty of war, every single time, 100% of the time, the first casualty of war is the truth. Never forget that. That's been our lead topic. We'll be right back with Storebrand TMZ. All right, now nuclear holocaust. That was fun. Let's jump into store brand TMZ real quick.
Justin Bieber!
All right, this week on store brand TMZ, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We got, what's the first image I got there? We're going to take a little bit of break from craziness. Oh, look at this guy. He was in court. He had quite the interesting getup for court. And, you know, most people wear a suit. At the very least, you don't have a suit. You wear a nicer, like, J.C. Penney shirt at least, maybe a polo. Not this guy. This guy just went for it. Check this out. Full send.
What made you think that was a good shirt to wear to court this morning? That's all you could find? That's all, the only shirt you had in your closet? World's best farter. That's great. No, it says, I can read it. I see what it says at the bottom. You're in felony court. You need to dress appropriately to felony court, and that's not appropriate.
World's best farter to court. He thought it was so funny, too. That's one way to do it. That's... I mean, okay. But, like... what if, can they find you guilty for that? It's not like they can say, well, you know, there wasn't enough evidence, but his shirt said world's best farter, so... I mean, what are they supposed to do? We got this next, so there's a new computer game that came out called African Futurist. Have you heard about this? It's where you're a black person and you break into the museums around the world, the historical museums, and you take back the African artifacts that the colonizers have stolen. So basically, again, we talk about people being accidentally racist when we talk about Christian Zionism. The point of this game is you're a black person committing a B&E. That's the whole thing. You're a black person breaking into buildings and stealing shit. Irony. Gotta love it. The next one here, we got an interesting baby announcement. A couple, go ahead, pull this up. It's just an image. You see this? This baby was going to be born on 9/11. They wrote, sorry to drop the bomb in the caption. And then they've got a sign that says, our little terrorist coming 9/11.
Even the dog's like, what the fuck?
The dog's like, holy shit. That's a dark sense. I dig it. Our little terrorist coming 9/11. I like it. Little dark humor. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't like our little terrorist coming 9/11? You wouldn't do that? Well, this next one here, this is Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit's got a new look. Check this out. All right, that's enough before we get a copyright. So what's up with the pants? Did he go to like a Mexican grandma's estate sale or something like that? Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. This video's gone viral this last week. It is of a woman who took her kids to the mall and she wanted to let her kids ride on this train that goes around the mall, and the guy was about to go on lunch and he decided he wasn't going to take any more rides till he was off his lunch or till his next shift or whatever the case may be. And the woman decided to do what everyone does in 2025 when they have an issue, which is pull her cell phone out and start recording him. Go ahead, check this out.
Oh, fuck you, whore.
Excuse me?
You heard me. I got all kinds of cameras around, so go for it. I didn't say a damn word to you. I just looked at you as you walked away.
You're a pedophile.
You're a whore.
Excuse me?
You heard me.
My kid was gonna get on your train, and you're...
I don't want her on my train. Not with a whore mother like you.
A whore mother?
You heard me.
Do you hear the way that this man's talking to me? He's calling me a whore mother?
Yeah, I did. And I got cameras everywhere. Just showing exactly what you did to me.
What did I do?
You walked away and then turned around and
because I didn't
jumping.
pay to get on?
You can go. I hope you're recording it. Let people know what a you are to jump somebody that's doing their job like you did.
I'm referring to you too, and I got your phone. This gentleman, a child molester, is not.
He is. You too.
No, you are.
What did I was going to pay for the ride with my child?
Get out of here.
You're at Arizona Mills Mall.
You can't put my kid on your
And do you think I want my children riding that train? And we don't. I was gonna pay for a train ride. No, I won't.
So, look, the guy's grumpy as all hell. I mean, he's like 70 years old, riding around a miniature train at the mall dressed as a conductor. Obviously, life hasn't gone according to plan for him, right? So, what do you think of this? I think she's someone who's never been told off. It sounded by the other guy that was recording it that she was the one in the wrong here.
Yeah. I want to see that guy's video.
Yeah.
The guy who is like recording the whole thing. I want to see his
Yeah.
video.
Okay, here's my big question. She tells the guy, "You're a pedophile." And then in the next sentence goes, "I was going to let my kid get on your train." Why are you going to let your kid on the train with a pedophile? There's my question that I'm probably not going to get answered because I assume this woman's not going to want to come on the show. If the guy's a pedophile, why would you want your kids? Why are you mad that your kids can't be around him? It's like I tell Mia about the ice cream man. There's no circumstance. None. When he comes, you lock the fucking doors when you hear that jingle.
I don't take your money and run outside.
No. Call the police. Hey, there's a sex offender within 100 feet of a school. It's an ice cream man. It's like a 50-50 chance he'll be a sex offender. 80-20 chance he'll be a sex offender. We got this next one. This is Sabrina Carpenter's album cover. Check this out. Just an image. There it is. Her new album, Man's Best Friend. What do you think about this? What's the deal with Sabrina Carpenter?
I mean, I don't know. She's a singer.
I mean, well, I know she's a singer, but why is she a try-hard? What's the deal with her?
I mean, what do you mean? Like, why is she so popular? Or?
Why does it seem like her entire brand is I'm a whore and I do sex things and I sing about sex, but I've never seen someone with less sex appeal than her. I'm dead serious. What's the deal with that?
I don't know.
I figured you might have, you're the expert on pop music. I figured you might know.
No, I mean, I think she's maybe trying just a little too hard. But
Yeah.
It's what she wants to do. It's not like she's ugly.
No, and that's the weird part about it is she's conventionally attractive. She goes out of her way to capture the male gaze. There's just something not connecting there. I don't know what it is. I'll try not to lose any more sleep over it. Okay. We got this next one here. This is Song of the Summer. This is Song of the Summer. Check this rapper out. This is from Kentucky. Her name is Big C. Now, there's the sex appeal right there, right? What do you think? Is that your new anthem right there?
It is.
Yeah.
I love it.
You know why I love it? Because it's like the national anthem for people who wear pajama pants to Walmart.
I just want to know, like, when did she film that? Like, was it early morning before they opened?
The KFC?
Or, yeah. Did they just have to time it so no one came walking out? Like, no cars were there? Like, how did they do that?
That's a great question. Why did she choose a KFC?
Yes, yeah. Why did she choose why didn't she choose a Popeyes?
Well, it's Kentucky. That's where she's from. But I don't know. Oh, my goodness. That's the problem with social media is everyone can be a musician now. Everyone like this next singer. She goes by the name of Sky Daddy is her name, her stage name. And she was on at the Warped Tour. And she did a cover of a song that a lot of us know, especially the younger crowd. And go ahead and check it out. She didn't kill it, but she killed something. Here we go. Comes the best part. So what do you think? Cover of the year?
I wouldn't say that's more for the younger crowd. I'd say like middle age.
The 30s. We're not middle-aged yet. What do you think of her rendition
When
of
you
it?
say younger though, you mean like
Oh, not the teen, not the Zoomers. No.
I think it was great.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
That's a professional musician doing that. That's
Her outfit was amazing too.
That's white girl drunk white girl karaoke is what that is. I've seen that 100 times before where they're out there singing, which is fine. You're having a good time. You're not on tour as a professional musician. That's my only thing. Whatever. You know, yeah, she was really styling there. She puts Taylor Swift to shame. What was it, like a tank top and sweatpants?
Yeah, a tank top that was too tight, and then it wasn't sweatpants, it was jeans, but they were like the oversized baggy ones that are coming back into style.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Anyway, that's been Store Brand TMZ. Stay tuned. We're going to do as much of trending this week as we can fit into our time slot here. All right, before we get into trending this week, big shout out to our sponsors, Firecracker Farms, not.com, .org, or .net, firecracker.farm with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show. You'll save 10% off your order at the checkout on hot salt. Hot salt is a great product. It's a combination of Mediterranean sea salt, scorpion pepper, Carolina Reaper, and ghost pepper. Hot salt goes great on everything made from a family farm with love. Firecracker.farm with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. One more time, firecracker.farm, not .com or .org or .net. Farm, F-A-R-M, with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Okay, well, while I was at the No Kings rally, taking some pictures, getting harassed by some schizos, there was a shooting up in Minnesota, where there were two state senators, Democrat state senators, who got shot in their home by a guy who knocked on the door impersonating the police, right? He knocked on the door, said police. Late at night, they answer it. He shoots them both. He even killed the dog, which was pretty fucked up. But that might be less sad than the dog having to go on without the owners. But so he knocks on the door, shoots everyone, totally at large, on the lam. Nobody knows where he's at. And initial reports aren't always accurate, but there was a lot of initial stuff that came out about this guy. They found his social media posts. He was a radical liberal. He had been appointed to a board by none other than Tampon Tim Walz. He was an employee. His wife worked for Coach Sandusky's wife. They had a lot of connections to the Walzes. Now, he shot Democrats, so that's a little bit interesting. But as it turns out, the Democrats that he shot actually just got done voting no on a controversial bill that would have, they voted yes on a controversial bill that would have repealed state-sponsored health care for illegal immigrants, which is a no-brainer. Now, go ahead and look at the video of this senator when she's talking about her vote. It just feels off. Watch this.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
She's like almost in tears. Her voice is shaking over a budget bill. That sounds a little bit weird to me. So they find in this guy's car that he left at the scene, He had flyers for the No Kings rally. So everything's pointing to this guy being a liberal lunatic that was just out to get anyone who broke from the cult, which we've seen often. Maybe not to this degree, but we've seen this quite often. Then all of a sudden, some more information about the guy starts to come out. He owns the police are saying it might be tough to catch him. He owns a security company. He could be disguising these security vehicles as police cars. He lives in a house that's worth over $1 million with his wife and kids. So all that comes out early on in the day, and everything was pointing to this guy being a liberal, a crazed lunatic liberal. Tim Walz even deleted every tweet that he had mentioning the guy, and there were a couple of them. Then all of a sudden, the narrative does a 180. All of a sudden, it's this 57-year-old guy who is living in a mansion with his wife and kids, owned a successful or semi-successful company, all of a sudden has this roommate that works at Papa John's. And this is the guy. Go ahead and play the video of the roommate here.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk about it.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. He because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz.
It's like they fed him talking points.
He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such things.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about those people. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Jim Walz.
Jim Walz? Didn't like Jim Biden.
Jim Biden.
Tim Walz, what would you say about him?
Well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Well, I don't like this that Tim Walz did this. I don't like that they did that.
Did he mention the protests that were?
This guy's the worst actor ever. This is the crisis actors must really be lacking right now because this guy's the worst ever. Now, he's given a whole bunch of other interviews. That's the only one he hasn't given in his Papa John's uniform. They're really trying to sell it. And I'll tell you what, the guy's been on more interviews than he's taken showers in the last week, if you look at him. Here's what I think they were trying to do. I think they were trying to bully the shooter out of hiding by saying this was his best friend, this was his roommate, whatever. And just so the guy would see the news reports and go, you know what? I'll deal with the murder charges. I'm not associated with that fucking guy. That is not my friend. I'll turn myself in as long as I'll deal with the murder shit. I'll take the rap for that. I am not going down as being besties with that guy. So the whole thing's just weird. He comes out with every talking point that they could have spoon-fed him. It's a total 180 of everything we'd already known about the guy. So supposedly they said there was a manifesto in the morning when the shooting happened. They said they found a manifesto that was left behind, but they weren't going to release it, which tells us everything we need to know as we learned from Nashville. Then all of a sudden, there was a manifesto, but they weren't releasing it because they couldn't find anything significant in it. Okay, sure. Then just release it so we can see it. Then they just said, well, there's actually no manifesto. So it went from, we have a manifesto, but there's nothing in it. There's no manifesto. And then by the end of the weekend, not only was there no manifesto, it was the first they had heard of a manifesto when the reporter asked them about it. It's all just a little fishy to me. Don't you think? Don't you think it's a little weird that this is what's going on here? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments on YouTube and Rumble. There's just too much weird shit here. They've tried to push this under the rug. They've tried to, it seems like they're trying to reshape the narrative on this. Maybe I'm totally off. We're not going to go too far. But all right, so let's go to the next one here. Let's talk red jumpsuit apparatus. Did they only have one song or did they have two?
Oh, I mean, they had one big one, but they had a couple other popular ones, but not as big.
Okay. Well, they had their lead singer, Ronnie Winter, posted this video.
What's up, Ronnie from Red Jumpsuit here, just doing like a quick little PSA. I thought I was pretty clear about all this stuff in 2020, and as you notice on my Instagram wall, I did not remove any of that stuff from the Stay Woke campaign, I guess you guys are calling it, from 2020. Look, man, the thing about being woke is you're awake, and once you're awake, you can never go to sleep. And not only has nothing changed, but everything they said was going to happen to woke people has happened. You have done nothing but prove them right. So here it is again, in case somehow you missed it. Hi, I'm Ronnie Winter. I sing for the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and I actually follow what Jesus says. If you're a Christian and you're watching this and you voted for Donald Trump, shame on you. You are not allowed to come to my shows. I don't want you there. Don't come to my shows. It's awesome that you love Face Down. It's not for you. It's not your song. Okay? It is not your song. If you voted for Donald Trump, do not come to my shows or ever, not just like these 4 years. Don't come to my shows because you're going to hear a lot of woke propaganda and you're going to hear like the actual words of Jesus. You're going to see a lot of acceptance from all areas of life and races. And you're just going to see a lot of like harmony. Okay? That's not what you're about. Okay? Don't come. Refunds are available. Forever don't come. Goodbye.
I feel like that could have been that message could have been relayed to the 5 people that are still on their like email list that are buying tickets to those shows. Are they really in any position to tell people not to come to their shows, the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus? I mean, imagine like if the Omaha Lancers were like, "Hey, don't come to our hockey games." Like, you guys still played hockey? I wasn't aware. I had no idea. Well, Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse saw that video and left a nice little comment on it. Ronnie Radke said, and I quote, "This dude donated $1,000 on Twitch to me with a message that read, 'Ronnie, do a song with me,' so the chat could see it. I ignored it and just kept his money." Totally just unrelated, kicking him while he's down. Hey, we're not allowed, if you voted for Trump, you're not allowed to at the Red. I know that's really going to bother some of you guys. I don't know how you guys are going to get through what do you do, Mia, if you're a Trump supporter who's already bought the tickets for the show in town?
Well, as he said, refunds are available. So
you can get the MAGA refund.
Yeah, MAGA refund.
Do I have to use a promo code when I get it? Just MAGA?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. That's whatever. He doesn't want you at his shows. Ronnie Winter does not want you at his shows that none of us knew were still going on. So stay away from him. This is, again, we talked about it in the lead topic about people bastardizing the Bible to push their political beliefs. Again, the average Donald Trump supporter, 99% of Donald Trump voters voted for Donald Trump, not because they thought he was going to hurt black people or Hispanics or gay people or anything like that. They voted for him because they liked his policies better. They liked his policies of non-interventionist foreign policy, of lower taxes, of whatever the case may be. They did not. They voted for Donald Trump to help themselves, not to hurt other people. They didn't even think he was going to, and he's not hurting other people, by the way. The people that he's quote unquote, hurting are people that already broke the law. And I know it's whataboutism or whatever. You idiots, none of you said shit when Obama was doing this at 5 times the rate. And don't even clap back about, well, at least under Obama, the deportations where you had due process, because they didn't. You can look it up. The ACLU, which everyone knows is a big, Trump organization. The ACLU, big fans of Trump, right? Their own numbers. Back in 1996, Bill Clinton signed a law called expedited removal, which means that they can deport you out of the country without ever seeing a judge if you're here illegally. It's been held up in court. 75% per the ACLU of Barack Obama's deportations were done with expedited removal. 75% of the people Barack Obama deported never saw a judge. The ones that did, many of them went through a process called Operation Streamline. You can look this up as well. Operation Streamline is exactly as it sounds. They wanted to streamline the deportation process. So instead of getting your day in court, well, I guess you kind of got your day in court, but you got your day in court with about 90 other people at the same time. They saw all of you, went, are they here illegally? Yep. Bye-bye. See ya. And those are the ones that got to see a judge. So this lie that Barack Obama used due process when he deported people is just that. It's a lie. To sit here and act like you have some type of moral high ground because you checked the letter of you checked the box of somebody with a D next to their name makes you not a good Christian. It just makes you a fucking retard, Ronnie Winters. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Well, the Democrat Party, this is from Washington Examiner here. The Democrat, or the next one. Not that one, sorry. The bankruptcy one. Oh, did I not? Yeah, there it is, sorry. The next one. Yeah, so DNC cash shrinks as leadership fallout continues. It's from Washington Examiner. Democrat National Committee's internal crisis has reached a critical point as its cash reserves dry up. The Democrat Party has been in disarray since its blistering losses in 2024. Issues haven't let up in recent months, with the DNC being consumed by leadership infighting. The poor fortunes of the organization extended into their finances, with cash flows drying up. Federal records show their cash reserves shrank by over $4 million from January to April, compared to the Republican Party, who grew by $29 million over the same time period. They entered May with $18 million. They're now considering, just to fund their campaigns coming up in the midterms in 2026 and the elections for 2025 here, going into debt, having to take out loans to do. You know what the DNC needs right now? They need to bring in Dave Ramsey. They need to bring Dave Ramsey in to fix that. Can you imagine Dave Ramsey just sitting there? What do you mean you spent $20 million on a fake Beyonce concert? That's what they got to do. They're doing it on ads like this. Go ahead, pull this ad up here real quick.
I had a really good time today.
Yeah, me too. I really look.
What are you doing?
She's coming with us.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're rounding up illegals.
She was born here. She's a citizen.
I don't care. She looks like one of them. But don't worry. When she's in prison in El Salvador, she'll have lots of company.
Now, if that looked or sounded familiar to you, it's because we played it during the election cycle. That was the same one where they did the Donald Trump is going to take away your porn ads. That's the same. So they're still rolling with that ad campaign. So what little money they do have left, they're spending it on methods that they've proven don't work. Brilliant. Brilliant. And again, that ad campaign is meant to appeal to young men. So they talked about weed in one of them. They talked about porn. And now it's, you can't even make this up. Hey, Trump's going to take away your big booty Latina girlfriend you met on Tinder. That's what they're saying at this point. I think another Beyonce concert will fix their financial woes. Another 20 milli, that'll do it. You know what's hilarious about this? Is these are the people that want to run the country. They want to manage the country. By the way, big part of running the country is running the country's budget. And they're going bankrupt. Kamala's campaign went bankrupt. Now the DNC is about to run out of money. But they think they can manage the country's budget. I was heavily critical of Republicans for not cutting enough spending in the new tax bill. At least they can make money. Like, personally, they can manage their own money. You guys can't even do this. Here's the other thing I find odd. 2 months ago, when Elon Musk and Doge were going through USAID, and there were a lot of accusations that money was getting sent overseas and kicked back and laundered back to Democrat politicians. And we talked about it on the show over the Ukraine thing. And then we covered it again when the USAID thing was going on. They cut a bunch of that money. They said, this looks like money laundering. This looks like money's being funneled back into the Democrat Party, and they're using it to buy elections. And sure as shit, as soon as that happens, not 2 months later, we hear that they're out of money. Isn't that a little bit odd, the timing there? Does it maybe make sense why the Democrats were willing to get so loud and defensive over spending that was seemingly indefensible? Because we were sitting here on the air saying, we were reading the stuff off that they were cutting. Transgender opera in Argentina. Who the hell could defend spending taxpayer money on that? Well, now we know why. How much of that $80,000 for that, study that study on the smoking habits of gay mice in Brazil actually went to the study? And how much of it got funneled back here through different NGOs into Democrat campaigns? Makes you think. Well, they're really, I think this guy's going to fix it. Pick this image up here. This is the new vice chair for the Texas Democrat Party. This is who they've elected now. I think this guy's really going to get it going there. They struggle with young men. I think he's gonna push the needle in the right direction for them. What are you looking at? Is his stash?
No, his
single strand hair?
Yeah, his fingernail. It's not even polish. It's Sharpie.
That's gonna play
Sharpied color onto his fingernail.
That's gonna play real well in Texas. That guy right there, that freak. We hear every election cycle, this is the one, we're going to turn Texas blue, we're going to turn Texas blue, and they can't figure out why they do it. And then they want to walk in front of these Texans that are one of two types of people, right? They're these old school cowboys and ranchers, well, three types of people. Old school cowboys and ranchers, football fans that are pounding their chests drinking beer, and then Hispanic families, right? Roman Catholic Hispanic families. And they roll that freak out in front of all those people and wonder why they still won't vote for him. Gee, guys, I don't know. Like I said, maybe another Beyonce concert will help you figure your problem out. Okay, let's go to the Supreme Court here in Tennessee. So the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 to uphold Tennessee's ban on transgender surgeries, cross-sex hormones, and puberty blockers for minors that aren't medically necessary in a 6-3 decision. I was telling Mia, we were driving yesterday, all the things that have had to come in front of the Supreme Court, some really landmark decisions. Does it show how far we have fallen as a country that it had to go to the Supreme Court to say, hey, should we be able to chop kids' balls off? Now, the states that allow this stuff, this won't affect them. But it does say that if you're one of these states that have banned this, all you got to do is, or you want to ban this, all you got to do is copy and paste what Tennessee wrote because the Supreme Court agrees with it. So this is a win for common sense. It's about time. I'm glad this argument is finally over because you had battles back and forth in the courts, and now the bad guys have finally lost. The evil ghouls and cretins that want to mutilate your children for a profit, to jump them on board with their suicide cult, because that's what it is, have finally taken their final L. It's over. They've lost. Now, we have to get this federally. That might be a different story. But this was the big one. We needed... Who are the three that voted no on this? We know who they are. They're the three liberal women. And a walking example for repealing the 19th Amendment. That's who they are. But this is where they stand. They've made it clear. They understand this is a losing issue. They don't care. They're going to triple down on it. So keep in mind, when we go to the midterms, these are the freaks that want to carve your kids up. Let's see. We got time for... let's go to Ilhan Omar here. Here's Ilhan Omar, the one who married her brother so he could get a green card here in the United States. Here's what she had to say about this. She's from Somalia, by the way. Here's what she had to say about this country.
In a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope, for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without.
We're one of the worst countries. You're not from here. Leave. No one's making you stay here. We're so bad. Go back to where you came from. Oh, no, because that actually is one of the worst countries. That's why. That's why she won't do it. This woman admits to committing immigration fraud. This woman is on video multiple times saying she does not represent the interests of America. She is in Congress to represent the interest of Somalia. What more do we need? Kick her? You kicked George Santos out of Congress for way less than that. Kick her out. She can't be trusted. She should be allowed. No, I don't care that she's Somalian. I do care that if you want to come to this country and you want to hold elected office here, you're representing the interests of this country, not another country. Go hold office in Somalia if you want to support that crap. We don't want to be Somalia. Make America Somalia again. That's going to be her slogan when she can't run for president because she's not born here, like Obama. Okay, what? Fuck it. We can do the last one here. Why not? We'll get through it all. So the FBI released, this is per Newsweek, Kash Patel and the FBI, so take it with a grain of salt, but released a new report. They have identified information that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, had created fake driver's licenses to cast fake mail-in ballots for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. FBI Director Christopher Wray allegedly found it, covered it up, and destroyed the documents, then testified before Congress that there were no plots of foreign interference that they had identified in the election. If this is true, and it's sounding like it might be, this is the scandal of the century domestically. This dwarfs anything else we've seen. I mean, if this is, folks, make no mistakes. All of the people who gaslit you about 2020 being the safest and most secure election of our lifetimes are about to have egg on their face. But here's the thing. If this is true, I want arrests. I don't want testimonies. I don't want finger pointing. I don't want tweets. I don't want hot takes on podcasts. I want them to go out. I want them to get everybody who knew about this, everybody who covered it up, and put them in jail for treason, because that's exactly what it is. They colluded with a foreign government that's hostile to the United States to rig an election, if this is true. It says they've turned it over to Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, who's like 1 billion years old, so we'll see what he does with it. We'll probably hear about it in 6 months. Says specifically these include allegations of plans from the CCP to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them to the United States for the purpose of facilitating fraudulent mail-in ballots, allegations which, while substantiated, were abruptly recalled and never disclosed to the public. So they basically claim that the FBI knew about this and destroyed any evidence of it. So if it wasn't true, if it was just hearsay or it was something you caught word of, why not address it? Move on. When you try to hide these things, that's when we start to get a little sus. It's like, what are you doing here? It's like I said, if you're, you go to your wife and you're like, hey, I think you're cheating on me. I'm not cheating on you. You can look through my phone. And then she's deleted all of her text messages. Aren't you going to be a little suspicious? It's a little bit. And then she'll tell you, you're the crazy one. You're the conspiracy theorist. In fact, you're the one who's cheating on me, not the opposite. That's what an abuser does. A mental abuser, but an abuser nonetheless. And that's what your government's doing to you right now. And again, when this comes out to be true, if it comes out to be true, we're going to hear once again that the same people, many of the same people, who are telling you that Iran is about to get a nuclear bomb, lied to you about just one more thing. Just another lie on their impressive and ever-growing list. But by all means, Ship your kids off to die. Ship other people's kids off to die, because none of you actually want to ship your own kids off to die. Ship your kids off to die. Start World War III. Pop a lawn chair out, 6-pack of your favorite beer, and just wait for the nuke. Why not? The nuke's coming. Just sit out and wait for it. You might as well. Because I come on here and I tell you, hey, maybe I don't want to get nuked for a country that it turns out isn't all that fond of us. And half of you agree with me, and the other half just drool in your cereal bowl and go, "The anti-Semite! You hate the Jews! You don't want to get nuked for Israel? You hate the Jews!" Why am I Big AJ? Why is Big AJ the opponent in this debate? Iran's got to get the big boom! What are we doing here? All right, that's about our show. We'll see you guys Monday for unsolicited advice. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. Oh, if you saw the we had a bonus episode there Friday. Go back and check it out. We interviewed C. Michael Pickens. He is an author of the new book, The Liberated Mind. It talks all about reprogramming your brain and some untraditional methods. Go check that one out. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.